Wait, can't you change the stream like after you start?
That was Danny Diff won that first game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fine. Just give 2 out of 3. You just put it in Discord.
Wait, this the stream title is third place match. That's messing with me.
What?
Wait, really?
Really?
It says
I
third
changed
place
it.
match.
But
Oh. Oh,
how?
I need to refresh it?
Yeah, you need to refresh.
Oh, yeah.
I did put first place, but it's I should probably mute us, huh? Please begin.
Or
No, we're live.
okay, we're
You
live.
got it? All right. Perfect. All right,
All
so
right,
I'm back
hello
again for a little
everyone.
bit here, Danny. Hello again, everyone.
So
All right,
it'll
so Danny,
be yeah,
as
me,
we go
Alex
for it.
for a
Yep.
bit, Yvonne maybe, and Alicia once she gets back. But yeah, very, very exciting first game. We're now entering the second game with Daniel Diff having a 1-0 lead in this best of five series. We can see the first round bans already. So, definitely they learned their lesson. Fashion Ras getting rid of the New in the
Yep.
very first ban. On the other side, same bans as before. The Timo, it's not a troll ban, by the way. Like Mango Stalker actually plays Timo, unironically, and is very good at it. So, they definitely just don't want to have to suffer through that in lane. And so they're banning out the Timo. They ban out the Malphite as well, and they pick the Akali and the Olaf.
Interesting. What do you think about these two picks coming out first rotation for Daniel this year?
So, like once again, the Akali is very similar to the Silas, and the Olaf is very similar to the Nunu. So they're actually just from their first two picks look like they're trying to replicate exactly what happened last game, right? Where you have that very, very, very strong early game
Hmm.
jungler that is able to run someone down. The Akali is a very strong duelist, especially if she goes the Riftmaker item, which gives you true damage and healing
Yeah.
after a certain a number of seconds in combat. And so that covers a very similar role to the Silas, where they're just going for that, very skirmish focused, early game
Yeah.
oriented advantage. As
Certainly.
they go Rammus on the other side. What
Yeah.
do you think about this one?
I really like it. I think that they could just look to draft two tanks here and force Daniel Diff to take somebody with a lot of damage. And interesting as a Vi pick comes out,
Wow.
it
So
could be a
that
mid lane Vi into that Akali. What do you think about this?
Yeah, so like we saw the exact same thing last game where we even until the very end weren't even sure where the
Yeah,
champions were going to go. So I think the Rammus surely has to be a jungler,
yeah.
which means the Vi could be either top or mid lane.
Hmm.
I'm not too familiar with the specific players on Fashion Rats, so I imagine it's not top lane because I don't think Mango Stalker plays Vi. But I think Vi is actually a decent, maybe
Yeah.
skirmisher
So
if you get the
I am
W up.
a
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a jungler and have historically mained Vi for a while. She can be a very, very good skirmisher and a very, very good laner, especially with her E. Uh,
Hmm.
that is able to clear waves quickly and poke the enemy. And then her shield is a great thing during those little skirmishes because you're able to get um, like a little bit of comeback each time. And
Sorry to interrupt,
we
but
saw
it looks like the teams have messed up and are giving me a new spec because they messed up their bans. So I don't know if anything changed, but here's the new pro draft link.
all right.
Okay. So, is it? Yeah. Pro
So
Draft
I
has
guess
this
we were,
thing. Yeah. Pro Draft
I
has
guess we
this
were
thing
looking.
where
Yep.
they're very buggy sometimes. In that sometimes what you want to ban or pick is the exact opposite of what actually gets banned or picked. And so it looks like unless this is another bug or a mistake, Daniel Diff actually goes for the Anivia in the mid lane, which I think they just changed Anivia, right? They just improved her a little bit, I think, with the ultimate now being like a 1 second
I
recast
believe
instead of a
so,
six
but I
second.
They
also
also
believe that
changed her
the item.
Q, which is making a big difference for her.
Yeah.
The Q now slows the enemies when it passes through, and they also did buff, like Alex said, the mythic mana item for now.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay. Is the Q does the Q also still stun if you reactivate it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I
I
believe so.
believe the recast still stunts.
Okay, cool.
Which I
So
think is an interesting pick given how pivotal
yeah,
that Silas was for them last game.
exactly.
Also,
So
everyone,
we'll have to
let's
see.
welcome Alicia as she has joined our stream
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I'll finish out casting until the end of this pick draft, and then you guys will have Danny and Alicia as two great casters as we move into the game. Sorry, Danny, as you were saying.
No, no worries. Yeah. So thank you again, Alex, for hosting and casting, and welcome Alicia to the casting stream. As we see the Pantheon and the Ash rounding out the first rotation in this pick ban, do we have any thoughts on this Ash? Because it seems like they're definitely going for something a bit different here. They're looking to, the Ash really wants to play an almost zoning sort of style where she's able to stack up the Q, get it off, and then pick people apart. And the Anivia being a control mage plays a very similar role, right? And then that's
Mm-hmm.
contradicted by the sort of Olaf, which wants to run in early, wants to get pressure, right?
Mm-hmm. And Alicia, how do you think the Anivia? So Alicia is, as I've heard, a Anivia main. How do you think this matchup is into this Ari? Given how pivotal the mid laners and junglers were in all of these brawls, I think having priority mid lane could be a huge.
Anivia one trick. But I think it's very interesting to the pick. She's definitely been getting a lot more attention recently because of the changes. And we did see earlier today in the third place match that the Anivia bot lane actually had a lot of success. I was a
Oh,
bit
do you
of a
think it's an
surprise
Anivia
pick.
support?
No, they actually ran Nivea APC earlier, Jeff, and they won the game.
Oh
Mm.
yeah,
It was
I
actually
know.
very successful.
Yeah, Jeff is a big Anivia player when he's not on his support champs. So that's a
Oh,
very good
Vayne.
point, though. Yeah, or Vayne, yeah. But that's a
Yeah.
very good point. We'll have to see what the last pick for Daniel Diff is because that could be a flex loop. Now, look, actually,
Ooh, I'm so
so
confused on both these team
I
comps.
think it'll just be standard Anivia mid, Lulu
Yeah.
support, and Ashe ADC. On the other side, it'll probably be an Ahri mid, and most likely a Pantheon
Pantheon
jungle.
jungle,
I
right?
don't know if I've seen a Mordekaiser jungle before.
Yeah.
So
Mordekaiser jungle's a little lacking. The Pantheon will have that really early pressure and might be able to really contest this Olaf in getting that influence across the map.
yeah,
What do you guys think the focuses of each of these teams are going to be?
I'll go first. I think Daniel Diff with the Olaf and how much they play around their jungler in general, like Galaxy, traditionally an ADC, a very good ADC, has actually taken up the jungle role for his team in this tournament, and he's been doing spectacularly. So I think they'll just also try to look for gankable lanes and be able to exert that jungle advantage early. I'm actually not entirely sure who wins in a very early skirmish between Pantheon and Olaf. I'd imagine if it lasts anything longer than like 5 seconds, the Olaf probably just wins because of
Yep.
his innate
Yeah.
sustain.
The
But
healing. Yep.
it'll be interesting to see if Pantheon can burst either him or someone else down before
Yeah.
that happens. In terms of the fashion rats, I think they're going back to their comfort picks this game. Like I'd imagine this mid laner is probably an Ari player. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Ari still can be very strong if the charm lands. Like able to get a lot of picks with the Ari and the Pantheon. So they might be looking for something similar.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Alicia? Thoughts on these two drafts from each side?
I'll continue off of what Danny was saying then. In terms of this Ari into Anivia matchup, I think Danny's definitely right that if the Ari and Pantheon does set up an early gank on Anivia, in the game, because if Anivia's put behind early on in the game, then it really takes a while for her to be relevant in this game and in team fight stage as well. Alex,
Mhm.
have any thoughts?
Yeah. So I think both of these drafts are very, very odd. And I would love to see, however, a early invade by Fashion Rats on top side onto this Olaf and Volibear. Because given how skirmishy the last game was, if they're able to shut down one of them early, and then let the Pantheon roam and get his job done, and get his team ahead early, because he definitely falls off later, I think that could be a huge point for Fashion Rats. And I will be rooting for them, as I want this series to go all the way, given how much fun that first game was. I think that is going to be all from me. Sorry for cutting you off, Danny. I'm going to go ahead and hop off here as the teams get ready to start doing the rest of their draft. Best of luck to you guys. Have fun trying to cast this if it's as conflict heavy as the last game.
Yeah, thanks again, Alex, for casting and hosting.
Always fun.
It was a pleasure. So yeah, we're just waiting for the game to get started here, but okay, gotcha. All right, so we got a little bit of time to kill. That was a very good point earlier, Alicia, about the Pantheon and the Ari specifically. Like, I'm not sure, because they picked it in the same rotation, right? So I'm not sure if that was completely intended or not, but that does give a ton of early pressure because the Pantheon stun, as you know, is a point and click. And even the Leona, if Pantheon chooses a gank bot lane, could be some very nice setups for ganks. And that's exactly what I would like to see them do early game. You know, try to replicate that skirmishing, but do it in their sort of, you know, backyard, right? Do it to their tempo rather than just following the Nunu around.
It'll be very interesting to see in terms of whether, because I feel like both team comps could be very team fight oriented, but at the same time, kind of paradoxically, they can't really single a player out. Like that's true for Leona Pantheon locking onto someone. It's true for Mordekaiser and his ult, and it's also to extent true with Anivia and her wall, which got longer in this patch. So
really? Okay.
that would be an interesting dynamic to see how the teams decide to play around their advantages. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's very scary when you're slowed by Anivia R and then she drops down her wall and you're stuck because your team is separated from you.
Yeah, that's very true. You know, with the Mordekaiser pulling someone out of the fight with his ultimate and the Anivia wall and the Leona stuns, like there's a lot of potential for Fashion Rats to play, you know, to disrupt a lot of the team fighting. Or sorry, for Daniel Diff to for both teams actually to disrupt a lot of the team fighting, right? So it'll have to be, you know, very precise from the players on both sides to navigate around these team fights and be able to execute exactly what they want to do. On the other hand, though, I think Fashion Rats probably has, I don't know, both teams have decently simple enough jobs, right? Like the Olaf runs forward, Volibear kind of runs forward, and same thing with the Pantheon engage and Leona engage. So especially in situations like this where, you know, there's not a huge execution level of difficulty difference between both teams, you know, that's when it really comes down to who is just able to, you know, think better during these team fights and make the better calls.
Right, for sure. It will be about target selection for majority of this. And I feel like we didn't really talk about Lulu, but she's also a support that's very good at, you know, her W would really just take out of the player for significant period of time during team fighting.
Exactly.
So that would be very interesting to see as well.
Pantheon could either have a very easy or a very hard job, depending on how Daniel Diff responds to his engages and collapses on the backline, right? Whether that Lulu chooses to exclusively save the polymorph for the Pantheon, or do they want to try to save it for, you know, someone else to try to pick them, etc. Another point of that's very interesting is this top lane dynamic, because, you know, we saw how much of a bloodbath top lane was in the previous game with Mango Stalker and Kawisa just, you know, going back and forth, trading blow for blow, and with Mango Stalker winning out early before the Urgot came online. And so this is another very interesting matchup. I know the Volibear is one of Kawisa's favorite champions, and the Mordekaiser is one of Mango Stalker's favorite champions. So they're both on comfort picks, and they're both in very strong laning champions. So that's a huge point of contention that, you know, depending on how they play against each other and how the junglers influence that, could set the tone for the game too.
Sure. you're definitely right on that. And that definitely changes in terms of the target selection, right? Like whether or not do you think one of the junglers would choose to path towards that top side, or will they try to extend their lead for through different lanes?
That's a good question.
For
I think,
example, Fashion Rat had the option through mid
yeah,
of ganking Anivia, who's a mobile. I'm not sure,
yeah.
and I don't know these junglers very well myself, but that's just some thought experiment while we're waiting for game to start. I feel like.
Yeah. If it's anything like what we saw in the first game, it might just be that both junglers just do standard start bot side, try to get a stronger leash from the support and the ADC before trying to do their normal clear. Because I think, and that's probably most likely because of how much both top laners prioritize being very, very, strong in lane, getting to lane early, trying to set up an advantage early. So I don't see them, spending a lot of time ganking and potentially, having to go through a precarious path to get to the top lane if one of them tries to cheese the other. But like it's only game 2, anything could happen. Fashion Rats could totally try to pull some level 1 cheese, as I think you mentioned with the level 1, or it might have been Alex with the level 1 invade topside to try to set the jungler behind. There's still a lot of stuff that could happen in the series.
For sure, and Fashion Rats definitely have, I would say, a more aggressive level 1 if they do decide to invade, which is something they have done in their road, I guess, to this final series. So.
Yeah, at the very least, though, both teams have shown themselves to be very, very capable and deserving of being here. His last game, I can't reiterate this enough, but both teams were just so close to each other until that knife just barely caused one team to tip over, and then with the volley bear having very unfortunate ganks and jungle pathing from that point forward caused the red team to just snowball out of control. But we saw both teams have the potential within them to be able to find these early game advantages and then be able to execute on them. So yeah, do we have a timer for how much longer it'll be until the game starts, or? Okay, no worries.
I would say another 5 minutes. I think Daniel Diff's ADC or support had to restart their internet, so okay, 3 minutes on the timer.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, that's one of the things about having such a big tournament. I think this should be Yale's biggest Yale only tournament so far. I don't think I've heard of or been in a bigger one. So huge props again to the tournament organizers for setting everything up. At the end of the day, I think the teams were all extremely balanced. Every team had a good chance, and here we are in the final match. So yeah, huge props to Jeff, to Lance, to the entire team that was able to make this happen. And yeah, I mean, it might seem like some of the teams are slightly unbalanced, but I feel like that's just inevitable with having so many different people that have so many different skill levels coming together for this tournament. But I think all the players have had a very hopefully enjoyable experience. And at the end of the day, it's just another event in the Yale League of Legends community. And I know for sure that I had a huge amount of fun in the brief stint that I had playing in this tournament.
Sure. And I believe the organizers are thinking of having another tournament like this. And they're throwing around the idea of separating into platform below and above tournaments. So it'll be 2 different pools. So it might kind of help with that balance in terms of what the chat is bringing up. But also, I know a lot of summoners were kind of confused by the title solo duo tournament. It is not a 1v1 tournament. So if anyone's interested in joining the next time, do stay tuned because I believe that's coming up soon.
Yeah, very good point. I know I for sure was initially bamboozled by the terminology of the solo duo tournament.
I think we all were.
Yeah, but still, yeah, huge turnout. So not only thanks to all the organizers, but also thanks to everyone who participated in this tournament. Very excited to see if we can try to replicate something with that platforming in the next kind of few games. But yeah, we're gonna get started here soon. And once again, to reiterate, as we hop into this game, definitely look out for Fashion Rats early game. Level 1, see if they try to toss a little bit of a curveball to Daniel Diff, and don't allow them to sort of just play around the Olaf, play around their jungler, and try to get mix things up a bit in the early game.
That'll be very exciting to see. But that being said, I think you did mention in the last game it was very close until kind of a pivotal fight in the game. So there are definitely a lot of opportunity for that in this game as well.
Yeah.
Some of the scaling options on Daniel Diff's side definitely are threatening to the game. Anivia late game can be quite a monster in terms of either in the side lane to wave clear or just sit under turret. And it'd be very hard for Fashion Rats to really engage on that. So
exactly. One of the things we haven't really talked about is besides both teams having a lot of individual disruption and pick potential, is
Sure.
the sort of middle game dynamic where,
Right.
as you said, because of that Anivia and because of that Ashe even, Fashion Rats will have a very, very, very hard time shoving and trying to siege, right? So a lot of their advantages might have to come from just trying to dive towers with advantages they have, find good ganks and stuff like that. Whereas, on the other hand, I think you have a bit more siege potential with the Anivia zoning and stuff like that on the other team. So we'll have to see where both teams take it as we load onto the Rift right now. And yeah, any last minute thoughts before the game starts?
Looks like the game is paused. So
yeah, just saw that. That's one of these things about these tournaments is, you have, especially now that anyone that was on campus, well, most people that were on campus are now back home after the Thanksgiving break. Everyone's kind of in a different part of the world right now. And so everyone's, subject to a lot of these different kinds of internets and stuff like that. So we'll have to see, this is part of the game as well and the online tournament. If players are able to play around, all these sorts of like technical issues and stuff like this happening as well. Because I know for sure, and even some of my games previously, like if there's a pause because someone disconnects or someone even disconnects, like that can be a huge tempo changer for the series or even the game. So thankfully this one's happening at the very start of the game. So maybe we can iron out the kinks here with the connectivity issues and stuff. Seems like they were also doing a little bit of playful banter in the chat, which once again, we're resuming right now, but everyone knows each other in these games. So that's what makes it a lot more fun to play against and with people that you know.
And I think we are ready to load onto the Rift. We'll keep our eyes out in terms of where the teams go and prepare for that potential cheese maybe.
Yeah.
This does seem like a pretty standard 5-point start for both teams, though. So
yeah. Oh, maybe Galaxy not seeing the Mordekaiser. Oh, that should be a kill. Flash over. He ghosts. That should be a kill. An auto.
That being said, the Volibear is
nice.
Nearby.
Nice. So
that is first blood going towards blue team.
All right, my stream was lagging earlier. You might also want to refresh your stream. I think we might be a few seconds off, but nonetheless, huge first blood for the Pantheon in the jungle. Like that is basically the most efficient use of gold that's possible in a very early game as we are reloading the stream, I believe. Yeah. So we're back, but having the gold on the jungler, especially with how even these lanes are, might be like one of the most important things that you can have early. I mean, like top lane aside, where they just kind of want to fight back and forth, but having the gold in the jungler means that you can transition it into any of the 3 lanes that you choose to gank. And especially having an early game champ like Pantheon, picking up those boots, you get to just get those ganks off that much faster.
Really true. That's definitely a huge lead to blue team. We'll keep our eyes out in terms of where the Pantheon does choose to extend that advantage.
Kawisa able to zone off Mango Stalker a little bit. As Yvonne, do you want to drag the top and the jungler in the red team? to be in their appropriate roles. Yeah. All right, thank you. So yeah, we can see, very, even with that single death already happening, Olaf going for that very fast full clear as their bot lane almost dies on the blue team. Oh, that was a lot of damage from the Ashe there. Yeah, Ashe Lulu, actually, Ashe early game has a deceptive amount of damage if you're able to pile on those Ws, as you can see he's able to do here. Like, the W base damage is huge. As we're trying to set up a gank top lane, pops the shield. Yeah. Kawisa is just, might be able to trade a kill here. Actually trades the kill, gets the flash as well. Has the grasp. I wonder if he'll be able to get anything. No, the spear comes out. And Pykel is able to now start the game 2-0. Very, very, very different story than what we saw happen to him last game. So already, very, very, very thankful. Right side should be that they were able to not only burn the Mordekaiser flash and trade the kill, but they're still in a somewhat precarious position as the Ahri is posturing up to try to zone him off of the crab.
Yeah, that is true. And Ahri was partly able to roam because of a really good charm onto Nivea mid, full up with her damage from W and Q. That forced her to... I believe she took her potion, but we shall continue to see how that dynamic works out.
Why is everyone muted?
Oh, oops, I was talking and I was muted. My bad. Yeah, so Kawisa way too far up. Actually, just not understanding his limits on this champion yet. Gives a kill over, and now blue team leads 3-2 as the Pantheon comes back into the bot lane to try to set something up onto the Ashe, who's way overextended. Pykel is now 3-0 in this game. Very, very, very different start than what we saw last game when, he had that very unfortunate game where he was just too late to the punch here. We can see he's definitely being a lot smarter and more proactive with his choices in this game.
For sure, and it's especially impressive that he's been able to extend that lead to all 3 lanes, really, because he doesn't seem to be camping a particular lane to extend his advantage here.
Yeah, I think red side, you have the Olaf, who's, playing very Olaf style right now, just trying to get that farm up as the Anivia trades onto the Ahri mid lane. Chunks her. Ahri is probably just going to try to find a reset here on the cannon wave, being out of mana.
Leona was spotted on that roam though, because I think Nivea had a ward in the river.
Yeah. So there's no kill potential there. I think Leona maybe just trying to help the Ahri get a good back timer off. But
Sure.
yeah, as we can see, like you said, being able to pick up those boots very early, which lets you sprint lane to lane, and I think red team they're trying to engage onto the bot lane again. They definitely are a lot stronger.
And that's the polymorph.
Yeah,
it's making a huge difference.
Lulu landing the Q on the Ezreal as well. They are way stronger. This might be another kill onto Leona. That should be, yeah.
There we go.
And that might be 2. Wow. So they just get both of the bot lane champions on the blue team. So that's exactly what I was about to say, is the red team, they got ahead, right? They had the volley barrier basically trade even, and they had their bot lane get a kill. And I think they just overstayed. So I was actually thinking they should just tell each other to slow things down, play the game more safer with their lead. As Kawisa, as I say that, gets ganked again, the Mordekaiser ult's kind of locking him in place. Might be able to trade again. That's just the sheer power of the grasp going on. But no, he dies.
But
they're able to trade the dragon there. But yeah, he ends up overstaying yet again, dies there. 1 and 3, not the best look for the top laner. But the bot lane is really putting in work on this red side.
For sure.
And so even though they overextended into that Pantheon gank there, they were able to claw right back, and that's that early Ashe damage that I was talking about. With the double longsword, your Ws, especially if you're maxing that as you should be, do a lot of damage if you're able to stack them on top of each other.
And it's true that as Leona, it could be very frustrating to play against a Lulu early on, just because of the rank difference between the supports. And Ezreal, of course, has a little bit more of a skill shot dependency in his kit as well.
Yeah, all solid points. This is definitely a hard to navigate bot lane on the blue side. Pykel just continuing to clear jungle, hits level 6 now, so he has the ultimate ability to try to set up another either gank or counter gank. The Anivia playing very safe, warding the top side of the middle lane.
Typical. Right.
Yeah.
She is vulnerable, but I do think she still has her passive up, so it would not be the end of the world if the Ahri pops that in a 1v1 situation just yet.
Yeah, and the Olaf is currently hovering nearby as Galaxy goes to clear his top jungle. Once again, actually, the Pantheon is able to farm very well for how many ganks he's been able to pull off. He's only down 2 camps about to the Olaf, which we know has a very strong clear and has been farming basically this entire game, as Mango Stalker trades onto the Volibear.
Yet again, we're seeing a 1v1 on the top lane, and this time it does look like Olaf is trying to give some assistance. We'll see if they try to...
Yeah, top lane, not that we expected anything to be different from game 1, but wow, with bot lane, Pantheon ulting in, very nice engage. Maybe a bit of a miscommunication in target selection, but the Lulu should go down here. Yeah, kill gets donated
ultimately
over to the
they're
Ezreal.
able to focus.
Yeah, dashes out of the Anivia ult, is not able to kill her or pop her into the passive. So,
right.
Kawisa once again dueling. Yeah,
sure.
I don't think he wins this. Mango Stalker is just too far. The mid lane egg actually got popped, so maybe they can do something here. Flashes over the wall.
Flash.
Very nice.
That's
maybe a bit of
the Pantheon.
Yeah, maybe a bit of a chaos there. You don't want too many.
It's a kill security.
Sure. Yeah. But oh wow, flashes forward. Wow, Pykel is now 5-0 in this game.
Accelerated in this game.
Exactly. You can see the pick working out and paying dividends for him. Already a 9-4, 2,500 gold lead. Not even 10 minutes into the game, as the bot lane continues to struggle though on the blue side. The polymorph gets popped. Does Ashe have ultimate? Doesn't look like it. I guess they used it in an earlier exchange, maybe to try to run away when the Pantheon ganked. But as we can see, very, very distinct advantage in the top side for the blue team.
Definitely true. What do you think the teams are going to try to work towards now that Dragon... Not sure where the drag timer is, and it.
I think if I'm Galaxy on the Olaf, then I just tell Kawisa right now to basically just farm, stop fighting, right? Just tell him to stop the bleeding top lane.
That being said, he is under enemy turret yet again.
Yeah, so I don't know what's going on there. I guess he saw he didn't even see the back, right? Because
no, I don't think so. Just characteristic of the player.
Very much so. So yeah, once again, pushing very far up. Classic Will on Kawisa in the top lane. It doesn't matter if he's 5-0 or 0-5. Like, you already know what's going to happen with this playstyle. But yeah, if I'm Daniel on the Olaf, our advantage, if I'm him, the advantage is definitely in the bot lane, right? And that's what he's been playing towards already with the first dragon early on. Second dragon coming up within a minute. Continue to play around bot side, scrap top side, tell them to just play safe. The bot lane is continuing to pull an advantage and get kills as the Pantheon comes in, gets exhausted, pops the shield. Not sure if he can even kill the Lulu here. As you can see, the polymorph and the ultimate ability coming out, just providing so much peel for the Pantheon. As the Ahri comes in, charms the Ashe actually, has a TP coming in.
Kyosa as well. This is
Ahri might be caught here.
Bot lane. Yes,
Ahri is definitely caught here.
She is caught out here.
Yeah, because the Ahri burned the flashing over the wall.
Anivia wall really prevented her escape there as well.
Exactly.
Pykel
might be throwing his lead here.
The team is trying to continue this fight, but it doesn't.
Yeah, it's god, barely
like they have the
doesn't
damage.
Get it off. That's a huge swing for the red team. Oh, the Anivia actually flashes in. Might be over eager. No, has the cleanse, so she'll be fine. That's a tilter. Everyone dies in the bot lane, and everyone is so low. Everyone within 100 HP on the red side. That is
Right.
absolutely huge. That's effectively, I mean, someone died twice because the top laner didn't come down, but that's 5 kills for none in that exchange, and the dragon on top of that, and everyone is 100 HP or less. Like that is absolutely huge. On the other hand, Mango Stalker is able to pick up the entire top tower, so
And it should be first turret as well, going towards the Mordekaiser. Yep.
Yeah, they weren't able to finish off the bot tower with that push, with how strong the tower plates get as they get fewer in number. Galaxy is actually going for the turn here, 1v2. Might be overeager from him, as the Ezreal is able to...
Sure he's able to
gets clipped by the ultimate. Wow, so that's actually... That's about as good of a salvage, besides being able to pick up kills on the backside of that fight for blue team, because they get the entire top tower to that Mordekaiser, which is already very ahead, and they almost crack the entire mid tower as Pantheon is jumping on the Lulu in the bot jungle. So they are actually, even though they just threw a shutdown and 4 of their kills, ahead 2,000 gold 13 minutes into the game. And the Mordekaiser is continuing to exert his lead on the Volibear here. Yeah, Volibear just does not win that. Burns flash. Yeah, gets flashed on, dies there. Lulu disconnects again. Wow, so 11-9 in kills, 2,500 gold lead. This is actually a very good play.
Probably from what we expected. It like last game, it is a lot of back and forth going on between the two teams. So maybe this pause is something we all need for a little bit.
Yeah, so very funny pause screen actually, because
that would be a very rough bot lane.
Yeah, where's that from? Deadpool? Yeah, it's like freeze frame or whatever. How did I get here? Is what the Ashe is thinking right now.
Yep, and that's a huge shutdown going towards blue side as well. That's 1,000.
That's a very big shutdown, and the Ashe loses multiple minion waves. That's at least 2 or 3 waves right there of ranged creeps, and the Ezreal and Leona, who desperately needed gold and were struggling in the bot lane, get to pick up 1 or 2 more tower plates before the tower plating falls. And even though they were too low right now, if they were more healthy with just a Lulu there, they could maybe even try to take the tower. But no real point in overstaying. Just try to get your back off, buy the items that you want. Mango Stalker is so strong on this Mordekaiser top lane.
That is a 2v1, so...
This Olaf jukes out of everything, should just be dead still, though. They are way too far ahead, yeah. As the support disconnects yet again, reconnects, pause timer.
That is quite interesting, because we can only see that blue team is extending their lead out through the top side, whereas the bot lane lead from red side seems to have been lost to more or less to a certain extent. Do you think the red team will have really any effective way to deal with that Fed Mordekaiser and Pantheon combo? Danny, you're muted.
Sorry about that. As I was saying, as of right now, with 4 kills on the top lane and 7 kills on the Pantheon jungle, I think unless, and this could very well happen, either of the top or the jungle on the blue side choose to overextend and get completely outnumbered, as the Leona actually flashes in to try to save the tower. They have very conflicting target selection as the Ashe gets ulted. Wow, the Leona is just getting kited.
That is a little frustrating on the Leona player.
Very frustrating. But between cooldowns, you can do nothing basically, especially with the Lulu and the Ashe, both slowing you, as the Lulu has picked up the Imperial Mandate. As I was saying, very stark contrast between last game with what's happening in the jungle, though. If I had just seen last game and you covered up all the names on this game, I would have thought the junglers were reversed based off their performance in the previous game. But Daniel really struggling because he's been playing around the weak top side. Kawisa just not respecting Mango Stalker's damage. As Galaxy finally comes to the bot side to try to get an advantage here, flashes onto the Ezreal. Leona pops to lock it, tries to peel. Olaf is very strong. His ult runs out, but that doesn't matter. The stacking axis is just too much on him. The Leona comes in, Mordekaiser comes in. Pantheon and Mordekaiser might be able to clean up the entire fight with the Ahri. They're so far ahead. Yeah,
That is very true. And
the
then the
egg
egg is
popped.
popped.
Yeah, she goes down. The bot lane is solo. That just might be that's effectively an ace. I guess Kawisa is trying to solo the second
Rift
Is that the
Herald,
first
I
or the
believe?
second? Yeah,
That is the second one because
The
blue
second
team
Rift
popped
Herald.
the first one mid.
right, that's correct. So he's able to at least pick up something on the map, but with how late it is into the game, meaning that turret plates are already gone, like it's not like if you're blue team, you're more than content with that. Your bot lane dies,
For
sure,
sure.
but you get the flash on the jungler with the flash and the ult with dragon coming up, and you get a turret bot lane, and you might be able to get some more damage on here, and you basically get a huge gold power spike right before the dragon comes up, which you need to start contesting, right? Because if there are two dragons up, the Ahri gets
Is
Ash ulted.
by the Ash ult.
Might be able to get out, gets the Q, gets some of the ability Omni Vamp off of the Q. Oh, the Olaf might be going too far. The Anivia wall stops the Ahri in the track, but it's the Mordekaiser show now. So strong.
Mordekaiser is going to 1v3 right now.
Maybe. Look at that shield. Pops the shield.
For sure.
Oh my god, look at that healing though. Daniel putting up a very good fight, but just does not have enough damage. The Mordekaiser actually gets
Shut down by
shut
the
down
Anivia.
by the Anivia. Wow, so not able to 1v3 yet. I guess was either missing some of his cooldowns or they were just able to kite it well enough on the red team.
Right.
But once again, 33 kills in half of that time. Huge bloodbath that so far, I wouldn't say either team is extremely far ahead because with both teams, you have advantages in very different locations, right? You have a very strong Ashe and a very strong Anivia on the red team. And then obviously on the other team, you have the very strong top side, right? So there's no clear advantages yet. And the gold difference that the blue team has is somewhat nullified by the fact that they're still down a dragon. So, this still could be anyone's game. I'm very curious to see where they go from here. Do you have any thoughts on where they should play in terms of lane assignments or what they should be looking for?
An interesting question. Also, because the Drake was just taken, this will be this will be an
Another
Ocean
pause.
Soul.
Yeah.
It seems like. Well, I guess we'll talk about kind of what that might play out to be for this game. But the Ocean Soul will definitely be beneficial, I guess, for both teams. But I'm looking at the Anivia, and as a mana hungry champion, that will definitely benefit her a lot in terms of her ability to wave clear, to siege, to hold turrets, so on and so forth.
Yeah, very good points. I think you're also right in that both teams really, really, really want this Ocean Soul. Like,
For sure.
the reason why in the last game of the previous series, I didn't think that how you like that picking up the Ocean Soul was that big of a deal was because the champions themselves weren't durable enough to be able to make that much use of the sustain, right? It doesn't matter if you regen all your HP if you just get bursted in one rotation, right?
For sure.
On the other hand here, both teams have huge, regen over time, wants extended team fights as the Ashe gets picked out. Wow. Dashes in dashes over the wall. Very clean movement by the Ahri in the mid lane. Is he able to get out here? Oh no, gets collapsed on.
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. Kawisa picks up the kill, so gets a little bit of gold back for himself. But yeah, like I said, the Volibear, the Olaf, even the Ashe, really, with depending on how you build, but the Ashe could also sustain a lot.
The lifesteal could also be a lot of sustain for her.
And then on the other side, the Leona, the Mordekaiser, and the Pantheon, these champs all really want the Ocean Soul, right? They're getting collapsed on by the Olaf. Like, Ezreal might just be dead here again. Mordekaiser can't even...
Selection is also, again, a little bit questionable. Not quite sure who they're focusing on.
They might be able to get Mango Stalk. His Conqueror's ticking. He might be able to win this. He's in the Death Realm right now. Goes into the entire enemy team. That's the problem. When you're in the Death Realm, you don't know where everyone else is going to be when you respawn. So he flashes into the enemy team. Pykel also caught here. He probably goes down. Huge shutdowns all over to the Olaf, right? So,
and that's a big turn in momentum as well. Now that we can see the bounty is now on red team on the top side.
Exactly. That was a huge pick. Very, very... That was all started by... You see that pink ward in the bush on the bot side of the top red? So that bush allowed Daniel to basically do a loop around on Olaf and come for a flank. he basically nullifies Ezreal, forces Ezreal to flash to eat out and be useless for the entire fight. And then from that point on, it's just a 4v2. It doesn't matter if it's the two strongest members on your team. A 4v2 is still an impossible task at this stage in the game. And so Lulu gets caught out here. Very good pick by the Ahri on the backside of this fight.
It does seem like they're trying to go in some more, but the Anivia wall is
very
sectioning
nice
off the rest
combination.
of the team.
Yeah, Olaf maybe just gets the Ahri here.
The Olaf does have the ult.
So I think the Olaf also overstaying. So yeah, if I'm red team, I get the Baron and I just leave topside because I know I have the pink ward on the top side of the Baron pit, and I'm close enough and far enough from my top tower and the enemy team respectively that the Pantheon ult isn't that big of a deal. So they do throw a huge amount of gold back at the blue team by overstaying after they had already secured the Baron. But nonetheless, they still got a lot of gold off the Baron, still got a lot of gold back off from that flank. And so they're in a very good spot right now with how well they scale and with this Pantheon just getting caught out again by the Anivia wall. Mordekaiser ulting the Lulu, trying to 1v1 in the death room. Lulu forced to pop the ultimate ability, trying to kite and nullify the Mordekaiser as best she can while the team shows up. I don't think Mordekaiser can 1v3 here. The Ashe is very big as well. And with the Anivia coming in, that's just another overstep by Mango Stalker. I mean, that's kind of been the story of this entire series so far, right?
Right. It does seem like because blue side, top side had an advantage early on that they're still in the mentality that they are ahead, but it does seem like the tempo of the game is shifting. I would say towards the red side, now that they still have Baron buff on, I believe, at least 2 of their members.
Yeah, I think for sure 1 or 2 of them. Don't know how much is left on that Baron buff. Like with that fight, I guess technically you're stalling on a Baron, like maybe they're able to get, a couple of towers mid, but no real like game opening or game breaking damage as of right now. The Ahri has been doing very well for herself, picking up these kills on the backsides of these fights.
For sure.
But it's still a lot weaker than the Anivia.
Right, because they're just good at very different things, and their jobs are very different in this game, I would say. Like, as you were talking about in terms of red team after they got Baron should have just backed off. I feel like it was less of them not off, but that the Ahri really forced them to stay and kind of get the picks that she wanted. So definitely props to her for that.
Another problem with Freya or Michael on Lulu, unfortunate internet issues is probably what I'm gonna pin this down onto, which as we mentioned before, happens. It's the nature of what happens in these kinds of events where everyone is all over the place and stuff happens. So hopefully it won't take too much longer, but both teams are, posturing now around this dragon for a very, very important 3rd dragon because
it is so point for red team.
If they get it, yeah.
Right. Let's see. It does seem like the Volibear is still topside and pushing. He does have TP available, but it does not look like he's trying to...
Leona might have gone in prematurely. The Ashe gets ulted, forced the QSS there. The Ahri is doing tons of damage on the right side of the map. The Volibear actually TPs in, ults in. Let's see who gets the dragon. So Daniel actually is able to steal the dragon away, and that's huge. They're now on soul point for a very, very strong dragon. And that is everything that could have gone wrong, basically going wrong for the blue team, even with the Lulu, disconnecting towards the back end of that fight. But they were too split up, right? Not enough people in the dragon pit securing the dragon. The Leona goes in way prematurely, gets absolutely caught out as Mordekaiser is trying to run in here and trying to repair some of the damage. But yeah, the Ashe and the Anivia with the wall, it's just impossible to get on top of him. He doesn't have boots of swiftness. There's no way for him to stop the slows.
Yeah, it is. It have made a difference here that in this patch they did reduce the cooldown on Anivia R, I believe it's now 2 or 4 seconds now. And that made a huge difference as well. She now has a lot more options in terms of repositioning through these slightly more extended fights.
Exactly.
That's becoming more relevant as the teams get more sustain from this Ocean Soul. Or to the Ocean Soul.
It used to be that, as anyone who's played against old Anivia knows, I think a flat 6-second cooldown on the ultimate as Lulu gets ulted by the Leone here, trying to get a pick. The Ahri actually comes in, pops the egg. This should be a kill here. They just get the egg, try to get out, but they're actually fine here. Everyone dashes over the wall, pops into the Lulu, goes onto the Olaf next. He's actually pretty squishy when he has the ultimate pop. Like, when you have the ultimate pop and you're running away, you lose a lot of your resistances. So, very good pick there. Maybe just the vision advantage. But yeah, huge picks. Nothing to really fight for on the map currently, so a little bit sad there. But, you know, good picks nonetheless. Alleviates some of the pressure off the board, and they're able to probably pick up a tower off of this. Everyone is walking back into the jungle. Both teams, it seems like, are trying to figure out what to do. If you're red team, I think, yeah, you just need to, you know, I think your team fight is still stronger with that Anivia and with that ultimate change, where it used to be that, you know, wherever you cast your ultimate, if you got interrupted or had to run too far away, you know, you were basically not really useful in the fight for another 4 to 6 seconds. But now, you know, you can rapidly reposition. Getting CC'd isn't that big of a deal anymore. And so, you know, with that in mind, the Anivia is very, very strong with the Leandries and the Archangels finished for these team fights. So I think if you're red team, you know, you have a distinct team fight advantage as long as you're able to play around the Pantheon and the Mordekaiser well. So just keep doing that, and then play around Ocean Soul, play around Baron, and then everything else should fall into place.
For sure. I think I'm back. Sorry, my internet is also struggling a little bit today.
It's happening to everyone.
It's all the supports. Don't worry.
Yeah, they're going for, you know, story of the series so far. Another trade in the top lane. Anivia is hovering, and so is the Pantheon. So it's a 2v3 right now, 3v3. They hop into the Ashe. I wonder if she has QSS, forced to flash out. Leona flashes in, gets the E onto the Anivia, is able to pop the Aftershock, but is still going to go down here. Mordekaiser is just going to get run down here. Very good E, but just not enough damage and sustain against 4 champions. 5 champions now in top lane. Just an absolute overforce by Pyko. And I know that he's definitely one of the ones making these calls. So a bit uncharacteristic of him to not be tracking everyone on the enemy team. And with Baron up, this should just be a free Baron. Like, Ahri doesn't have long enough poke. Ezreal's not strong enough to be able to zone them off of this. I say that as blue team just doesn't want... Continues. Yeah, blue team just, or red team, sorry, just does not want any risk at all. No Ezreal is flying over whatsoever. They just run at him. Daniel able to pop the ult and just move past the Ahri charms and the Ezreal slows. Yeah, that's just another free Baron for red team. And, you know, with Volibear zoning,
quite dangerous
for
like, the Ahri here.
Yeah, there's just, he might even pick up a kill here. There's just no way for, wow. Slaps the Ahri with that very last auto, picks up the kill, is able to get out through the Ignite right into the mid lane where he meets up with his team that can honestly either reset for the gold and the purchases or just, you know, continue running it down mid lane. Like, there's only Leona and Mordekaiser up right now.
Sure, and it's a very different look for the Volibear and Mordekaiser matchup now. The lead has flown over, and somehow the Volibear is now online, even though he was quite put behind in the early lane.
Yeah. You know, that goes to show the sort of resiliency that red team had. Like, there were multiple points in this game where they were down a lot, right? Sure. The Ashe area comes through, catches the Pantheon, no follow-up immediately. Goes up to the Ashe, but I think with the Anivia and Lulu there, this is just, yeah, you're just not able to do anything.
You can just see that the Anivia R is just...
Yeah, the Anivia R coupled with the Q and the E just absolutely melts everyone. And I think with that, blue team is just too far behind. Like, I think they forced too much in places that they were weak, and therefore lost a lot of the advantages where they were strong, right? And that goes back to my earlier point right before that fight broke out about the resiliency of Daniel on this Olaf. Like, he was definitely struggling. Unfortunate level 1 invade leading to his first blood death. But, you know, even starting 0-4, 0-5, you know, he stuck to a game plan, right? Captured those dragons and stacked those dragons. And now his team is in a very, very good spot right now as they're trying to push down mid lane and get some towers.
For sure, and it does seem like Red Team did a very good job of playing into their advantage. Will they catch up with Ezreal here? It seems
Yeah,
like the
Ezreal
answer
is
is
dead.
yes.
This Ezreal could not eat in there. The Pantheon, I assume Olaf ult is gonna run out. Is actually still going, so that stun wouldn't have really mattered even if it was a second later. But you can see the Gore Drinker and the lifesteal and that shield
And that
from the
Ocean Soul
Olaf.
that they now have. that
Exactly, and
is
that Ocean
really
Soul.
enabling him.
There's just no way for blue team to crack this out because the Ahri is nowhere near enough sustained damage. The Riftbreaker on the Mordekaiser is able to pick up Daniel on the Olaf, but it's a 4v1 still with
Right.
30 seconds left on the jungler, 45 seconds left on the top laner. Do you think red team just goes for the end here? I think they
I feel
can.
like this is very feasible, yeah. Totally possible that they just end the game right here.
Volibear just gets charmed, has a shield on him, so it doesn't even take any real health damage. Ezreal comes in, pokes the Ashe a little bit, but with the tower being disabled here, stream's lagging a little bit, but that should just be a dead Ezreal if he stays in that spot. And with everything that's going on, I'm pretty sure that should just be the Nexus
game.
tower and the game.
Right. We've been having some trouble with the Nexus actually exploding on stream for whatever reason. But
No worries. Yeah, so another absolute bloodbath, right? Like we're talking 60 plus kills in a 30-minute game, right? That's a person from every team dying every single minute.
right.
And so that's, it's a 2-0 lead in the series right now as we try to fix the second game. Have yet to receive confirmation, but it's looking more than certain that Daniel Diff won the second game, so they're up now 2-0 in the series. And with how, as Yvonne is leaking the chats right now, with how much of a bloodbath and how close these games are, even being down 0-2, they could still make something happen in the series.
For sure. It is going to be a little bit of a tilter that Blue's side didn't end up with the win right there, especially given the lead by the Pantheon and the top side early on. But it does seem like, again, like last game, there was a pivotal point in the series where really the Anivia started coming online. The Volibear was able to take on some more favorable picks and skirmishes, eventually leading to their victory here in the second game as well.
Yeah, so as we see some more banter between Kawisa, who just played in this game, and Yvonne, so the game is over.
They can't see that. They can't see that. Don't worry.
Oh, they can't see that? All right, never mind. Oh, yeah, I have the fishing pulled up. They can't see anything. We're good. So, yeah, that concludes the second game. To summarize, Daniel Diff leading 2-0 in a best-of-5 series. So it'll be a monumental task for Fashion Rats to try to climb back. But,
Not an impossible one, though.
not an impossible one. With how these games are going, they basically got as big an advantage as possible with their top side. I just think
For sure.
if you're Fashion Rats, you just tell your bot lane to basically try to go even in lane. I think the Leona, even though it's strong in lane, doesn't pair well enough with the Ezreal into the Ashe because
That is true.
they just get zoned off too easily with the Olaf, and the Ezreal, if there's minions in the way, is not able to put out as much damage as he wants to. And so I think continue to try to play around that very strong top side. Mango Soccer on many different champions is very, very strong. He's very strong in the Mordekaiser there. Just have bot lane, try to play even, and then mid lane, pick something, that's maybe a little bit more damage to try to get through those front lines, and then try to contest more dragons early, and then it could be anyone's game.
For sure. Because it does seem like the Olaf played very smart in terms of it's true that the Pantheon had a lot of kills early on, but the Olaf was just secretly stacking all the dragons. And that was definitely a win condition that came into reality for the red team.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome. We're going to do a little bit of a caster switcheroo here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and look forward to the next game between Daniel Diff and Fashion Rats here. For everyone watching right now, I'm going to end the stream, and we'll be right back.